We are joined by Mayor Bach. Actually, I think we're joining you this month, being in your office here in downtown Colorado Springs. Mayor, thank you for making time for us and giving us a place to talk. We'll jump right into capital improvement projects. I know this is something with stormwater, a lot of issues have been raised about prioritizing different projects to make sure that we as a city and as a region are kind of taken care of. When it comes to capital improvement projects, how is the conversation going in terms of what needs to be addressed first, some areas that of importance that maybe we should focus on?
Well, good morning, John. Thanks for coming over. You know, this city has allowed our capital improvements need to be deferred for decades. So we're facing a huge buildup of really deferred, not only maintenance, but of capital needs in so many different ways. Stormwater is, of course, on the front page right now. But that's not all. As I've said to City Council, stormwater is a big part of a bigger picture. And the bigger picture includes roads and bridges. We have roads and bridges that are deteriorating in the city. I'm told I may have to close some bridges here soon. We're only resurfacing 2% of our streets per year. We should be resurfacing 10%. So that's only 20% of what we should be doing. We've got facilities that are reaching or are really at the end of their useful life, especially in public safety. We've got some fire stations that are older that need to be torn down and replaced. They are not safe work environments for our firefighters. The police officers need more evidence storage capacity, and so we're going to have to deal with that. We also have a large number of police cruisers out there right now that are well past the mileage where they should be turned in. So we can't keep kicking this can down the road. Now, the focus right now at the City Council level and at the El Paso County Commissioners level and at the level of a regional task force for stormwater that the county and the council convened is on stormwater. That's very important, but that's not the only need we have. You know, we've already been through this on stormwater once. The citizens, including myself, were very unhappy with the way that was handled. We got to get it right this time. And so, while I don't want to dilly-dally or delay, we need to be thoughtful in the way we approach the solution to all this huge backup of capital improvement projects. I know it's really unbelievable for me to tell you that I've been told we have $1.3 billion in backlog capital improvement needs. I honestly believe that number. I mean, it's just not feasible. We can't get there anytime soon, but we must begin chipping away at it. So that's kind of the backdrop. Now, you may remember that this regional task force on stormwater initially said that we, the city, have $276 million in backlog stormwater improvement needs. They then raised that estimate to $500 million and then later to, I think, $687 million. I said, well, with that kind of a huge escalation in your estimated cost, I really think we need a second opinion. That didn't make some folks happy, but I felt that was the prudent thing to do. So we engaged a CH2M Hill international, highly regarded engineering firm to give us a second opinion on our stormwater scope and priorities. We're going to have that report within a month. I'm going to ask City Council, the county commissioners, and the regional stormwater task force to sit down with me to review that report and then talk about the options.
The conversations, we'll kind of go back a little bit. You're talking about the possibility of closing down bridges. What are the meetings like that you can share to an extent in terms of how serious this actually is right now?
Well, I don't want to get into details and scare people, but you remember the bridge up in Minnesota that collapsed? People would put that off and kind of turn their head away from it. And so we have a number of those situations, and it's all around the city. We must deal in a holistic way as a city with our capital improvement needs. I need City Council's help. I need City Council to help me understand how we're going to fund not only stormwater, but also roads and bridges, as well as this other infrastructure for public safety, the aging facilities and police cars. So we will have that conversation next month, and hopefully by the end of the year we can come to an agreement, the City Council and I, along with the county commissioners, and outlying municipalities who have an interest in participating in certainly in the stormwater, but as a city we've got to solve the bigger picture same time.
And when you're talking about a number over $1 billion, looking for, like you're talking about, how to get that, tourism being a part of that. I know there's some conversations going, and I know you've been on record several times talking about this tourism program coming to downtown, City for Champions. You have said on the record twice to me that there will be no tax increase, and yet people are still fearing the possibility of a tax increase. If you want to kind of reiterate your point.
Well, you're talking about the City for Champions proposal that's been made to the state of Colorado pursuant to the state's Regional Tourism Act that was passed a couple years ago, which enables municipalities to receive a partial rebate of increased state sales tax that is collected by virtue of new tourist attractions that bring in more out-of-state visitors. It's a state law. Pueblo applied last year and received that. It's really a grant. So that's what we're talking about here. A group of distinguished city leaders led by Bill Hibble, who's the chairman of the El Palmar Foundation, and Steve Barlin, who represents the Anschutz Foundation, as well as the Broadmoor, and others, Pam Shockley, the chancellor of the University of Colorado Springs, and Doug Price, downtown guy here who runs the Conventions Visitors Bureau, and then Mike Gould up at the Air Force Academy, all approached me and asked if I would support them putting together a proposal to the state of Colorado for this Regional Tourism Act potential sales tax rebate. And honestly, I said, thank you very much for stepping forward and trying to take some action. You know that one of my top 3 priorities is jobs, John. We continue to have high unemployment. We have the highest unemployment in Colorado, I think. It's certainly the Front Range. We have unemployment that is higher than the national average. We have many more people who are underemployed. I'm very concerned about that. We've got to find ways to generate jobs, quality jobs, and get this economy going. So the group came back with 4 venues that they wanted to propose. One is the Downtown Olympic Museum, and I should add that Dick Celeste is part of that group, very instrumentally. Dick Celeste is the former governor of Ohio who attracted the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to Cleveland. He's also the past president of Colorado College. He's very passionate about a Olympic museum here in Colorado Springs, so he's also involved. So the idea would be to build an Olympic museum downtown, a multi-sport stadium, not just baseball, but soccer and other sports. That's the lightning rod. That's where people, I think, are really questioning this whole thing. And then a sports medicine campus at UCCS and a new visitor center for the Air Force Academy. So this came to me from an organizing committee, and I said, I'll certainly support it in concept. We have to bring it forward to the public once it's submitted and fully vet the pros and cons of doing this. So here's the bottom line. It would cost $218 million to build these 4 venues. Of that amount, the state would rebate $82 million in state sales tax to us. It's our money out of their incremental sales tax. By the way, they would keep $750 million over the life of these projects, so it would be helpful to the state as well. Private donations are forecasted to be $62 million out of the $218 million. That's wonderful, and that leaves about $74 million to fund. Well, there's something called new market tax credits available from the federal government, and then tax increment financing for the urban renewal district downtown that would get that total balance left to fund down to about $40 million. And yes, the city, I hope with help from the county, would need to borrow that money, and it would only be if the taxpayers approve that. That is not a tax increase. I believe we can pay for that out of cash flow. Now, why would we do this? First of all, we'd bring almost 500,000 more visitors here per year. That's a good thing. That's a clean industry. They come here, enjoy our wonderful place, our wonderful environment, they go home. And so they don't tax our services and our systems as much as having more and more permanent residents, although we need both. It would increase our sales tax by $10 million a year. Now, I've heard people say, well, why don't we spend the $40 million the mayor's talking about on stormwater? Right. Well, we could do that. We can borrow $40 million with taxpayer approval. I won't do it otherwise, with voter approval. You're not going to see any tax or fee coming out of this city as long as I'm here unless the citizens approve it, period. That's really important to know. So do we want to spend $40 million we might borrow on stormwater, or do we want to invest $40 million and get $10 million a year in incremental sales tax for 25 or 30 years? To me, the latter makes the most sense. But let me just say this. All I ask of people is to keep an open mind on this until the organizing committee can present all the facts and people can really then make a judgment. Why move the baseball team downtown? Because it would increase their attendance by 45%, according to the experts. And I gotta say again, would we be talking about possibility of the Sky Sox being downtown Colorado Springs if the Rockies and the Sky Sox were against it, really? So, but that has to all be proven by the organizing committee. I just ask people to keep an open mind.
And you'd also said in one of your town halls, if that baseball stadium is approved and the team does move over here, you're not abandoning the area out east where the current Sky Sox. That's going to be another conversation you have with the people in that community in terms of what they want to turn that venue into?
Absolutely. Well, of course, that's private property. It's owned by the Elmore family, who own the stadium and also the ball club out there. And I don't know for sure what they would want to do with that. I hope they would consider turning that into some kind of a regional amateur sports facility. We could become the baseball capital of this part of the world for high school and college teams, I would hope. But that's their call. I'll say this, if it makes sense to move the baseball team downtown, and we will only do that if really there's a consensus to do it. By that consensus, I mean at least a majority of people wanting to do that. My goodness, we can have express bus service from out there downtown. I would hope it'd be free, hopefully low cost if not free. I know the other concerns about a downtown stadium relate to cost of tickets. If we're going to provide a stadium to the Sky Sox, we're going to have a say in what they charge for ticket prices. On parking, I understand that's also a concern. I think that is being addressed. The public needs to make that decision. Successful cities have a vibrant downtown, and quite often you see a AAA or a AA baseball team there. So I know it's emotional for a lot of people. I live up northeast. I love that 8-minute drive from my home to Sky Sox Stadium. So the case will need to be made, and I just ask people to keep an open mind.
In terms of support from the community, I mean, obviously other people have to kind of get on board. What have you heard from people in the area?
The organizing committee is working really hard to brief all kinds of community groups, and will launch a public discussion here soon so that my fellow citizens can learn more of the details of this proposal and then draw a judgment. I can tell you that the University of Colorado Board of Regents unanimously passed a resolution in support of this proposal for the City for Champions, as has the Town of Monument Board of Trustees, as has the Manitou Springs City Council. And we're expecting other local jurisdictions to also come on board here soon, as they are better acquainted with the proposal. So we really appreciate that support.
One question that we've been getting in the newsroom at Fox 21, there was kind of a tree-scaping incident near the Broadmoor area. Some people were getting informed that it was mitigation. Some people there was going to be a park or a greenway. And I know you do know about this. Tell me a little bit about what's kind of going on around the city in terms of trees.
Well, we're talking about city-owned land,
Yeah.
where we have an ever-increasing forest of not only native trees, but regrettably infestation of Siberian elms, especially, that are not native to our region. They're very, very aggressive and basically just to block out all other vegetation. And they're also very prone to disease, and therefore very much kinder for fires. So our forestry service in the city parks department has been going out and thinning out those forests. We notified, I believe, most of the neighbors that what we were going to do and why. Maybe some didn't get the notice. I apologize if that's the case. People get very emotional about trees. I love trees. But when you understand what we're talking about here, and essentially these Siberian trees that are non-native, that are just ferocious, that will stop the growth of native trees, we have to thin out these forests on land that we own to try to protect our community.
Yesterday it was announced Come and Go has decided not to move into Old Colorado City. There were plans for 2 Come and Goes in the same general area. The association, the West Side Association, came and said, listen, it's okay over here on 21st near Highway 24 because there's some sort of development being planned right now. But then on the other side near Colorado Avenue, they came together and they said, no, we don't want this here. The entire neighborhood came together. They wrote letters, they protested. Come and Go said, we understand what you're saying, we value your opinion, we're not going to move in. Talk about, I guess, the resolve of those people coming together for something they thought valuable and then kind of winning their argument.
Well, first of all, I've met the principals from Come and Go. It's an Iowa family company, family-owned. Mm-hmm. They're great people, from what I can tell. They give back, I think, 10% of their earnings to the community that they're in. I guess I'm going to tell you I was disappointed that this ended the way it did without Come and Go even making an application. It's one thing after a company makes an application for everyone to speak up, and we should, but this got snuffed out even before Come and Go could make an application. I think it's quite remarkable that David Hughes, who's really the godfather, if you will, of Old Colorado City, who was absolutely instrumental in saving all those historic buildings, has come out publicly to say he was in favor of the Come and Go project there, assuming it could be designed to fit in and meet other key community concerns. And David Hughes does not suffer fools easily, I will say. I have a great respect for him. He's a very straightforward, very outspoken man, and yet he supported that. To be honest, in my opinion, there's a politician over there that's going to be running for office here a couple of years, and I think that's part of it. I do think people over there are particularly sensitive to anything that's going to, in their mind, intrude on their neighborhood. I respect that. It's City Council's decision. They handle land use. The only regret I have is that we couldn't allow the company to at least make an application and then make its case and try to then mitigate neighborhood concerns. But the bottom line is they made a judgment. I respect them for doing that. I also respect the people who feel so passionately over in Old Colorado City. Hopefully, Goodwill can find another buyer for that property. Goodwill needs the money out of that to do something else very important in southeast Colorado Springs. So hopefully this will all work out okay in the end.
And kind of the transition there is when people come together to discuss something, voices are heard, and it's kind of like what you're doing with your town halls all throughout the area. People kind of come together, they address the situation. I know right now you have been going and talking about the budget for next year and what people think money should be spent on specifically. How are those town halls going, and what are you hearing with those town halls?
Well, we're having town hall meetings monthly all around the city. It's a great experience for me to get out and meet with my fellow citizens. I've met so many wonderful people all across the city. We were just in southeast Colorado Springs, and I got to tell you, roads and bridges is at the very top of the list. Public safety is right up there as well. We do not have enough police officers in this city. We had 688 police officers here in 2008. We're down to 635, although because of attrition and past practice of not starting academies until way late, once we're down on our force strength, we're really only running, I think, 585 officers. Really actively right now versus 688 5 years ago. So I would say what I'm hearing mostly is about roads and bridges, public safety. Stormwater is an issue, certainly, but by far and away it's roads and bridges. And we're going to have our next town hall on Wednesday, the 25th of September at the Cordera Community Center. That's up on North Powers, up east of Briargate. I hope a lot of folks from throughout the city will come over and not only give us a chance to present to them our thinking in terms of where the city's headed, but give us some advice and counsel on what they think our priorities should be, how we can make the city better for them. The 6th of September, beginning at 5 p.m., we're going to have our summer Spirit of the Springs rally down at Sierra High School campus down on Jetwing, adjacent to the YMCA down there. And free food, all kinds of entertainment, and I really want you to be there. And I'll tell you why.
Why is that?
We're going to have a dunk tank.
Oh.
And if you would do me the honor of being in the dunk tank, I'd very much appreciate it.
I won't. 5 o'clock tomorrow, huh?
5 o'clock tomorrow at Sierra High School in southeast Colorado Springs. Hope a lot of people come out. We're going to have a lot of fun.
All right, Mayor, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.